Remember, nobody responds like Danka.
Welcome, my son.
Hello, Dolly.
Everyone wants to know the facts of life. But look at the jam I'm in.
I can fix that.
Only Danka offers copiers, fax machines, and digital systems with its world-class commitment to service.
You're wise beyond your years, Danka man.
So what is the true meaning of life?
Leave your number. I will fax you.
Danka, world-class products, world-class service.
This is about how your business can build new profit centers without bulldozing your budget. About looking bigger than you are. This is about call centers, people, and technology that can capture new customers, answer questions, and process orders 24 hours a day. And it's not just for the rich, the powerful, or the daring. Because there's a way you can get the help, hardware, software, and advanced toll-free service to create your call center. All you have to know is how. Network MCI, that's how.
This is the theater at Madison Square Garden in New York. We are exactly one pick past the halfway point of the NFL draft. Pick 130 is sitting on the clock. There were 129 picks here in the draft. Let's get a look at the last 6 selections in the draft. It includes Darryl Price, most recently selected by the San Francisco 49ers. And as we move up that list, we note Chris Dawkins, that we mentioned just a short time ago, the running back out of Minnesota, staying in Big Ten country, going to Green Bay.
Well, I'll tell you, you look at Chris Dawkins, like I mentioned before, the high ankle sprain, the fact that he was injured in a year, the senior year, when you're under a microscope. But if you watch Chris Dawkins, 6 feet, 210 pounds, with real good speed, real strong kid, tough kid, great character kid as well. I like him. I think his pass receiving will improve once he's in the NFL. People say he's a straight liner, but he does have a little wiggle for a 210-pounder. He's just not a stiff back who's going to have a problem adjusting to the pro game. You watch him here. I mean, this kid can accelerate for a 210-pounder. A strong, sturdy back. Of course, if you remember the Green Bay Packers, they drafted in the first round a few years back. Darrell Thompson had the same program. He was a bust. But this is the 4th round, not the 1st round. I think Chris Dawkins brings a lot of value at this point in the draft.
Let's talk running backs for the Green Bay Packers and where we can kind of project Chris Dawkins. It's a running back situation that has some flexibility within the structure of the offense, Sterling.
Well, it's a running back situation where they have no running backs. Edgar Bennett is a converted fullback that they made a running back. And Chris Dawkins brings speed, he brings power. And the one thing with Edgar Bennett being so young and being the star right now, as Mel talked about, he doesn't have to play every game because he can stay healthy now. So I think it's a great pick for Green Bay to spell Edgar Bennett, a change of pace.
And when you talk about Edgar Bennett and the framework of that offense, it's just a matter of moving some just terminology around because they switched some of the offense to make Edgar the running back?
You're exactly right. In a formation which is red with the fullback on the right, halfback on the left, if you want Edgar Bennett to play that fullback position or halfback position, just go change, and they just switch positions.
They've tried to answer the running back position before in the draft, Keyshawn Johnson out of Northern Illinois.
And he was in an injury problem, too. You know, he showed some flash early, then he got hurt. He was not able to really come back and solidify a position. You know, was not as good a receiver as they thought he could be, and, of course, he's moved on. I think there's a spot for Chris Dawkins here. That's why in the 4th round, I think you're not only getting value, but Chris Dawkins himself is going to a team that can certainly utilize his skills as a pure running back.
So Chris Dawkins, and we say a Big Ten player in Big Ten country, but remember, Minnesota plays its home games in the Metrodome, so he really doesn't get as much on the field in cold weather opportunities to run. The Atlanta Falcons were the least active team of the NFL draft yesterday. They only had 1 selection at pick 84. They're kind of the response to what Denver was in last year's draft. There you see their pass defense, worst in the league, worst all time in the history of the NFL. So, Mel, as we look at their picks, obviously defense is the first thought, and their most recent selection answering a little bit in the defensive backfield.
Yeah, he's a professional football player at Winnipeg. Of course, he was hurt some this year. When he did play, he showed some athletic ability. His workout a couple weeks ago was not that special, and that's why some teams I spoke with had moved him down their board to maybe the 5th, 6th round area. But he's a professional player at the CFL level. Tamarick Vanover came out of the Winnipeg system. Winnipeg Blue Bombers did a decent job with Kansas City. He's going to start actually at wide receiver for the Chiefs this year. And, of course, there's another kid out of the CFL, another professional player, Joe Horn, who played for Memphis in the CFL, led him in receiving, led that league in receiving. He's eligible. He could be a later round pick as well.
Let's get more on how Bolden it's a guy who many of you probably haven't heard of. Chris Fowler, maybe you folks in our ESPN studios can clear that up a little bit for us.
Well, Mike, I got to confess, I'm not a big viewer of CFL football, but Mike Lombardi, I guess that's become a part of scouting in the NFL. I mean, Jerron Bolden, a guy that, unless you watched football from Canada, Blue Bombers, or if you remember him as a great high school player in Florida, Falcons fans won't know him.
Well, I think what happened was he unfortunately got caught in an academic restrictions. He was a very good football player at Hillsborough High School in Tampa, Florida, ran 10 300 meters, was highly recruited. Unfortunately, he was a Prop 48. He went to Mississippi Delta, where he made first-team JC All-American. Again, the academic trouble showed up. Winnipeg drafted him in their draft. He ended up signing. He has another year left on his contract. If Atlanta wants to get him out, they're going to have to try to wait and see if his contract expires or buy him out, much like the Chiefs did with Tamrick Vanover. But you've got to use every angle you can in scouting, and you've got to do as much research and find players.
So you're actually watching a bunch of tape on CFL games to find guys you could draft, even though they may be under contract?
Well, I think if you look at the Chiefs, you know, Vaughn Booker starting for the Chiefs from the University of Cincinnati, goes up to Winnipeg, and of course Tamrick Vanover. The Chiefs do a good job in scouting. Canada has a lot of other teams do it. You've got to try to find, when you run a player personnel department, you cannot use just one method to try to find talent. You've got to use them all. You've got to use more than these books, Joel Bushbaum's book, even Mel Kiper's book, to not have Mr. Bolden in there. Back to Chris Dawkins. Quick point on him as a running back in the NFL. Well, I think what Chris is going to have to prove to the Packers is he's a multidimensional back. I think in Mike Holmgren's offense, he's going to have to catch the ball and run out of the backfield with the ball in his hands. He's going to have to prove that he is elusive and making players miss down the field. I think in terms of the running, you know, he can run the football. He's more of a runner than he is a receiver, and he's going to have to take his game to another level in the reception area. At one point, a Heisman candidate, if you believe the mountain of literature that Minnesota sent out prior to last season, now will have to prove himself as a fourth rounder. NFL Draft Day, always a great equalizer. Mike?
Chris, you and I have to watch more CFL football on the Deuce this upcoming summer and fall. You may have seen the New York Giants selection flash below us. It's an interesting selection, one we'll talk about, and after the Giants select, we'll be moving towards round 5, and the Jets, the team that started this whole thing some 36 hours ago, will be on the clock. We'll continue live from New York as we work towards NASCAR on ESPN.
This is the most dangerous place to be if your transmission has started to slip. Will you make it? Don't take the chance. Take your car to AMCO. AMCO centers have expert technicians with state-of-the-art diagnostic tools. And relax. Half the cars serviced by AMCO centers don't need a new transmission. AMCO is the place to find out about your transmission. Not out here. AMCO. AA MCO.
Hi, we're not home right now. We just got a new jet ski STS watercraft. We'll call back just as soon as we get home.
The jet ski STS. It's got all the power, handling, and stability a family needs.
It's your mother. How come you never call?
See your Kawasaki dealer, Kelly's Kawasaki on South Country Club Drive in Mesa.
Action can you pack into 1/2 hour? How much can you handle? NBA Tonight, the ultimate half-hour wrap-up of the day that was in the NBA. Tuesday through Saturday at midnight, only on ESPN2.
Welcome back to New York. Quarterbacks selected, 4 of them through 4 rounds, save 1 pick. And the most recent, Danny Cannell, quarterback from Florida State, taken by the New York Giants. So the Giants quarterback situation, which is in flux. Remember, Dave Brown is yet to be signed, although most people expect him to be signed. He's there. Well, let's talk about maybe the Giants quarterback they hope for the future.
I'll tell you, when you look at Danny Cannell, you think he's super experienced because it seems like he's been at Florida State forever, but he only played 2 years of football at the high school level. Of course, he played behind Charlie Ward, had some cameo appearances. Then, of course, the last 2 years directed this offense very effectively. And, of course, everybody says he's a product of the system. He has great receivers. All he has to do is get the ball in the area. I thought he was pretty effective. He was a winner, cool under pressure, a lot of poise in the pocket, has a good sense of defenders that are coming around him. And I think when you look at his touch, and I think the arm strength was questioned, but I think it was at least adequate. I think when you can get at Danny Cannell at this point in the draft for a New York Giant team, is certainly hurting at the quarterback position, showing we all know what they have. You know, Dave Brown, who's there, and of course they have to get him signed, but they really don't have anybody. I know Dan Reeves likes Tommy Maddox. We don't. I think this is a kid that's going to have an opportunity to develop in this Giant system at a nice pace, is what you have to bring along quarterbacks. You can't force feed them. Danny Cannell's going to have the opportunity in a 2 to 3 year period to hone his skills.
Tommy Maddox not the answer as a backup, is he?
That's why Dan's in New York.
So Danny Cannell becomes the second Florida State player taken. They had 10 taken last year in the draft, along with Colorado. That was the most, and ironically, the Buffs and the Seminoles have only had 2 taken this year. So Danny Cannell goes to the Giants. The Seattle